Okay, welcome to my class. So today we are going to discuss about the general characters of pteridophytes. So in the last class we got some introduction about the pteridophytes. So pteridophytes are a group of flowerless, seedless, spore-bearing, vascular, primitive cryptogamic plants. So they are primitive in the sense they are primitive vascular tissues. So those plants normally you can see wherever the temperature is below 30 degrees centigrade and the moisture content of the environment is more than 80 percentage. So in such a humid places like a thick rainforest, if you visit, you can see this a group of plants. If you search the images in the Google, you can get many images related to the pteridophytes. So you can easily understand the variety and variability even among the pteridophytes. However, most of the pteridophytes are terrestrial in nature. So they are all basically they are all land plants. They are all basically land plants. So we can see on the lands, surface of the lands. And a few are going to be xerophytes. Very few are going to be xerophytes. So these plants have a special capacity called resurrection. That is, uh, whenever there is a dry condition, the entire plant itself curl backward, they fold, and they can be in a form of a small bundle so that they can easily conserve the water, so they can easily overcome the dryness in the environment. And whenever the favorable uh, season comes, they will unfold again, they will come back to their normal position. So these plants are basically known as what, resurrection plants. So that capacity is present in the case of the pteridophytes. And even some other plants are aquatic in nature, and very few are epiphytes. They present on some other angiospermic plant. But these normally we can see only in a place where the humidity is going to be more than 80 percentage. So mostly in the temperate regions as well as in the subtropical regions, you can see the this particular group of plants, that is a pteridophytes. And if you see the plant body is basically a diploid sporophyte. The plant body is here a diploid sporophyte. So we know very well what are sporophytes. So the sporophytes are the part of the plants they produce spores. The part of the plants they produce spores. So for example, as already I showed you, I will try to show you one more picture later to this. So in this you can see the presence of the spores. Okay, so this part of the plant is going to be the dominant in nature in the case of the pteridophytes. They are highly dominant and they are also independent in nature. They can lead their own life because they have the chlorophylls. So they can do photosynthesis and they can manufacture their own food as like the other autotrophic plants. So the plant body of the pteridophytes are dominant. Basically they are all sporophytes. So they produce the spores. And related to the leaves are concerned, the leaves may be either homophilous or heterophilous. You can see almost in this picture, you can see all the leaves are of same size. So they are all known as what? Homophilous. HOMOPHYLLOUS, homophilous. In some plants like Selaginella, you can see there are types of leaves. Some leaves are going to be smaller in size, and other leaves are going to be bigger in size. So there are two types of leaves you can see. Those are all known as what heterophyllous in nature. And regarding the reproduction is concerned, the asexual reproduction happens through the spores. So the spores, as already I told you, they are present at the particular structures called sori. So these leaves which are having that particular spores are known as what? Sporophylls. So these leaves are basically known as sporophylls. 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 So sporophylls are the leaves, normal leaves, but they have spores inside a structure called sori. Sori, sori. And individually they are all known as what? As sporangium also. So sporangiums are nothing but the spore bearing structures present on the sporophylls. So normally the sporophylls produce two type of spores. They may produce two type of spores. One type of spore is known as microspore. So they are all smaller in size, and another one is known as megaspore. They are bigger in size. When comparing to the previous one, they are a little bit bigger, so they are known as what? The megaspores. So normally these spores germinate as usual in other group of plants. They germinate and they produce the respective gametophytes. They produce the respective gametophytes. For example, the microspores produce the male gametophyte. They produce the male gametophyte. Like that, the megaspore produce the female gametophyte. Okay. So normally the microspores produce from the microspore mother cells after meiosis, and the megaspores are produced from the megaspore mother cells after meiosis. And then the spores germinate into the respective gametophytes. So now the gametophytes have the reproductive structures. For example, from the male gametophyte, we can see the male reproductive structure called antheridium. It is a club-shaped structure. And from the female gametophyte, you can see the presence of the archegonium. Archegonium is having a long neck-like structure, and then at the bottom there is a swollen venter is present. So inside the venter there is an egg. So normally what happens during the rainy season, the sperms which are produced from the antheridium, they are all basically motile in nature. They have flagella, so they can swim from one place to another place. So they can easily reach the tip of the neck of the archegonium, and they travel through the neck, and finally they will reach the venter where the egg is present. Now the nucleus of the sperm and the nucleus of the egg fuses, and that is what we call it as fertilization. So a zygote is formed. So zygote is diploid in nature. Now the zygote is going to secrete a thick wall around that, and now they form a structure called oospore. Oospore, oospore. Then this oospore develops into an embryo. Then that embryo is going to develop into the young sporophyte. That is the plant body of the pteridophytes. So like this, during the life cycle of pteridophytes, there is a distinct alternation of generations. That is, the plant body is basically a sporophyte, and they produce the microsporangium and megasporangium, and from the microsporangium you can get microspores, and from the megasporangium you can get megaspores. So then they produce the microspore will produce the male gametophyte, and the megasporangium will produce the female gametophyte. So from the male gametophyte you can see the formation of the spermatozoid or sperm, which are motile, as already I told you. And from the female gametophyte you can get the female gamete called the egg. So now fertilization happens. So zygote, embryo, and then the sporophyte. Say for example, now if you see in the life cycle, the sporophyte. So from the sporophyte you can get the gametophytic stage. So in the gametophyte there are male and female. There is a male gametophyte and a female gametophyte. But in the case of sporophyte there is only one. There is only one. There is no male and female. So only sporophyte. The plant body, entire plant body is known as the sporophyte only. But in the case of the gametophyte, we have the male gametophyte and the female gametophyte. So from this, we can get the sperm. From the male gametophyte, we can get the sperm, and from the female gametophyte, we get the egg. So they fertilize, they form zygote, and then they form embryo. So from the embryo, we can get the sporophyte. So as already I told you, the sporophyte is diploid in nature. So they reproduce, or they produce the gametophyte by the asexual method. By the asexual method. That is simply by the formation of the microspores and the megaspores. And from these microspores and megaspores, the gametophytes are formed, but now they involve in the sexual reproduction. They involve in the sexual reproduction. So by that way they can form the sporophyte. So this is what we call it as the alternation of generations. That is the sporophyte. Then we get gametophyte. From the gametophytes we get embryo. Then that embryo develops into the sporophyte. And these two phases, that is the sporophyte and gametophytes, are entirely different in their structure. And the sporophyte is completely independent. They are dominant. But the gametophyte is little bit, to some extent, they depend on the sporophyte during its younger stage. And because of this type of life cycle is known as what? The heterologous type of life cycle. Heterologous type of life cycle, or we can call it as a dimorphic. Di means two, morphic means the external morphology. Both are different. Sporophyte is different from the gametophyte. So this type of alternation of generations is known as what? Either heterologous type of alternation of generations, or dimorphic type of alternation of generations. So in this, what we come to know is the pteridophytes are like that of algae, and bryophytes. They are also another group of plants, but they are having its own characteristic features. If you take any pteridophyte, you can see a developed rhizome, underground rhizome, or in the form of the roots, and then there is a stem, and then the leaves. So the pictures you can easily go through the Google so that you can get many pictures even with the names of the pteridophytes, so you can easily understand the variety of the pteridophytes. Okay, so pteridophytes also play an important role, but today, of course, it is very limited in number. Only the ferns, Ferns, ferns. In Tamil, it is known as perennial. Only those plants are present nowadays, but most of the pteridophytes are fossilized. They are not present, they are extinct. But some 380 million years back, that is during the Devonian and the Carboniferous period of the Paleozoic era, that we will see in another class about the geological time scale to a little detail. But what we have to know is there is an era in the geological time scale. During that, there is a Devonian period and Carboniferous period. So during those periods, these pteridophytes were highly dominant on this earth. But now it is being extinct. Only the gymnosperms and the angiosperms occupy the major portion of the earth. So with this, just I would like to say that pteridophytes, the term come from a word called pteron, Pteron, pteron. Pteron means feather-like. So the leaves, you see, the leaves are feather-like. And also they are all having the primitive vascular natures. Say for example, if you take the xylem, it has only the xylem tracheids. There is a element called tracheid. So they are all longer in nature. So that you might have studied in your lower classes. They are all tracheids, but there is no vessel. So vessels are originated later. But in the case of the pteridophytes, the xylem is having only the xylem tracheids. Like that, if you take the phloem, that is the conducting or transporting element which transports the organic solutes prepared by photosynthesis from one part of the plant, particularly from the leaves to other parts of the plant. So they are having the phloem parenchyma, but the companion cells are absent. Companion cell, in Tamil it is known as tunai cellgal. So companion cells are absent, but they are having the phloem parenchyma as well as the sieve tubes. Apart from this, we know very well there are some examples like Lycopodium, Selaginella, Marsilia. Normally we used to call it as a water fan. So these are all some good examples, including the Selaginella are the good examples for the pteridophytes. Thank you.